Okay, let's get started with our testimonial application. For this, as always, we're going to create our container, our folder for the applications. This is going to be the number 4, so 04, and let's just type in here testimonial-app, actually testimonials, multiples. I'm just going to copy this testimonials, enter, and create a new file, and you're going to use here capital case because this is going to be a component, and also app with capital case. So let's end it with a .jsx and rfc, and we're good to go with our testimonials. And also here, well, I just messed it up all over the place. So testimonials, and also up here. Okay, now let's add it to the app, to the app.js. Down here, testimonials, close it up. We should get here our testimonials. If it is, just a second. Yeah, compiled successful. And let's hit save here. Okay, so there we go. There's our application. Next up, so let's give this a class of container. I'll say margin auto, and we're good to go. Next, let's insert here title. So title component, also import it, import title from title. We're going to go up, components, dash title. Let's use the text as the testimonials app. Okay, testimonials and application, and you should be a string. Okay, next up, we're going to create our second component, which is going to be a button component. So let's go to our components folder right here, create a new file. Let's call it button.jsx. It's rfc, and instead of the divs, we're going to return here a button. Now we're also going to return a couple of classes. For the class name, I'm first of all going to use here curly brackets and then backticks, because I want each and every button that is going to be created to have the class of btn. For the text, we're going to insert here a text, and let's also bring in here text. Okay, and now let's just bring in this component. So we're going to bring in, just going to copy the title and replace this with button. So button, and down here I can now insert my button. So component, button, close it up, and let's just leave it as it is. And now we should pass in here a kind of a default text. So if there is no text, then display, well, let's just say click. But if there is a text, then display that text. So we're going to have it like this, and we can see we have here click. Okay, next up, I want to be able to change the class of the button. So what I'm going to do here, add here variable, $sign. I'm going to call this btn class. Now we're going to use this as a prop up here. And this just means that if I go back here, and instead of the class, oh, let's also add the text. So text, let's say the very first one will be posts. Okay, so I just change it to post. And let's also add a class. So class, btn class, and I'm going to add here btn info. So the button retains its btn, its main class, but also adds to it btn info class. We could also add btn sm. That's going to make a small button, or LG, going to make a large button. So I'm going to leave it as a regular button, and that's it. Okay, let's go back to the component, because we're not done yet. We also want to be able to add some kind of icon in a button. So right before the text here, I'm going to add another variable of icon, or another prop, and also pass it up here. It doesn't matter which order you pass them in, icon, but down here it does matter, because this is where the icon will appear if you have an icon. So if I would give this button an icon, and for this let's just insert some kind of icon. We already have React icons installed. If not, npm install -react icons. And for the posts, let's just bring in an icon. So disable this, and this time I'm going to bring in an icon from ps. So import, and the name of the icon will be bs fill file and post fill, post and fill. And this is going to come from React icons and bs, because we started with bs. Okay, so let's just add this icon. Now the way you add icons, for example here, I'm going to use the prop of icon. And the way you add icons, well, it's exactly as you would add a normal icon. So open, close, and close up this, and there we go, there's our icon. Okay, one last thing about the button. If you want to keep this shorter, you can add here a default text. So let's just add here a click and delete this. Okay, it's the same thing. As you can see, if I copy this button and remove the text from here, it's just going to say Oh, add it to the class. No, not the class, but, and there we go, click. Okay, but I want to change the icon from here, so I'm going to copy this icon, the import I mean. I'm going to replace it with FA, user, and alt. And this is going to come from FA. So FA, and also copy this and replace it in here. I'm going to have here a user. Okay, the last icon, let's also add this one. I'm going to copy the button and add here, be a commented detail. This is going to come from BI and also edit down here. And there we go. We have 3 buttons. Oh, we forgot to add the text. So text will be for this one, users, and for, let me just copy this. For the last button is going to be comments. And there we go. So we have our 3 buttons. If you wish to add a bit more space between them, then you can just go into the icon and add a class name of margin right, let's say 1, and so add a bit of a margin to it. But I'm going to leave this up to you. Okay, the last thing I want to add to the buttons is a click event. Basically, if I click on one of the buttons, then something should happen. Now let's open up the console. The console. There's a console. Let's also delete everything that is in there. We might have some errors from previous things. And now let's add here a, well, right after the class name, a on click. I'm going to pass it this. I'm going to pass it on as on and click. I'm going to add it up here as a prop, so on click. Okay, so if you're using this on click, then it's going to be passed in as a prop into the button, and here it should do something. So for example, if I would create a function, a const handle click, and let's just pass in here console log my click. Well, you should be an error function. What are you doing, buddy? Okay, so we can already pass this handle click a button. Let's pass it here at the end. So on click, just handle this on click. Remember, this is a component. It's not actually a button. This component returns a button, and we're passing down this function into that button. Okay, so if I will click the very first button, then it's going to handle my click, and I can do this to all of my buttons. So paste this in here and paste it in here to the very last one. So let's just change, let's leave it at this. So click, click, and clicks. Okay, so yeah, we're done with this part. Now let's move on to using some effects and also use state.